What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Put 'em on a Poster podcast. If you're new to the channel, my name's Chandler, and let's just hop into the video today, man. So today I'm gonna talk about my hot takes for the NBA trade deadline. I don't think any of these happen. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think any of these trades are gonna happen. I don't think anything will happen with these teams. If they do, I feel like it's gonna be the exact opposite. But it's my hot takes. I mean, I don't really fully believe in them, but this is what I think might happen. So, first off, I think Toronto, instead of becoming sellers, which I mean, rumors around the league have been saying that they're gonna want like 3 first-round picks for OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam. Who knows what he's gonna command? I mean, you look at Fred VanVleet. There's been rumors of him to the Clippers. I think Toronto buys in. And I know this is crazy to think about, but I think Toronto goes all in, and I think Toronto makes a move for somebody. I mean, I'm not saying they go out and they go get like some superstar player. That's not happening. It's not like a Kawhi Leonard type of deal where you're getting a guy to try to push for a championship like title. That's not happening. But can I see the Raptors potentially making a trade for someone like, let's say, potentially Bradley Beal if he's open to the trade deadline? Can I see him making a trade maybe for DeMar DeRozan? Bringing that reunion back to Chicago? It's possible. I look at this team and it's like Toronto's a team that doesn't really rebuild too often, and they're not going to rebuild. I mean, they're personally going to do whatever they can to try to avoid having to rebuild, right? So if I'm them and if I'm in their situation right now, I'd try to go all in. I mean, it's a tough situation. It's hard to assess it right now because you got people like Pascal Siakam, who's been really good this season. You got Fred VanVleet, who's been an all-star the last couple seasons. He's having a decent season so far this year. He's averaging like 19 a game, which isn't bad. But, you got people like OG Anunoby, who's had a really good season. And, I mean, obviously, you got more guys that are on that team, like Gary Trent Jr., who's a good role player. I think if I'm them, I'm going all in, man. I really believe in that core. I believe that core can potentially be a top 4 seed out east if they really put it together and really get it going. I think that team could be a top 4 seed, and they can really, they can start clicking. If things can start clicking for them and they make a trade that, gives them that extra guy that they buy and they go all in on, I think they really have a chance. I think they really can be a pretty fairly good team whenever that time comes around. And so, moving on to that, I think the Chicago Bulls buys this trade deadline as well. Now, this one's a little bit more complicated because they have DeMar DeRozan, they have Zach LaVine, they have Nikola Vucevic. All 3 of those guys right now, they've somewhat been in trade rumors. Mostly Nikola Vucevic. I think that they're tired of tanking. I mean, it's blatantly obvious. They went through the past 5-6 seasons, Jim Boylan, all this era. They gave up on Lauri Markkanen, and Lauri Markkanen's budded to be a star. I mean, they didn't really give up on him. They made a trade for they traded Jimmy Butler, which included getting Lauri Markkanen in the first place. So they gave him the opportunity in the league, and they ultimately just moved on from him. But I mean, you look at that team and they do have a chance. They can be a somewhat decent team. They're missing obvious depth, and they're missing obvious playmaking. I mean, you look at like Lonzo Ball before he got hurt. Lonzo Ball was an amazing playmaker for this team, and it wasn't just playmaking was what he provided. He provided a lot of things. He obviously provided defense. He was a big time defensive spark. I think they missed that heavily. And I mean, you obviously look at the end of that team. You got players like Alex Caruso who, if they do decide to sell, which, I mean, I don't know what will happen, but if they do decide to sell, Alex Caruso can get some good value because he's a very good player, very good role player, very big spark plug. I mean, he was amazing for the Lakers before he moved to the Bulls. I mean, he has championship experience. He's a very valuable player come this trade deadline if they decide to move him. And so I think that maybe Chicago potentially trades one of these star guys, and maybe, just maybe, they go all out for somebody. I mean, I'm not saying that there's going to be a superstar available at the trade deadline because that's not going to be the case. But, maybe they go all out. They go get some defensive guys. Maybe they trade someone like Vucevic and try to downgrade for like a 2-for-1 and maybe get a couple defensive guys that could come in and fill the role and just potentially play a big part for this team. Because, I mean, you can tell with the Chicago Bulls, that one of their biggest problems is defense. I mean, that's always been a problem with them. You look at their team right now. I mean, Zach LaVine, notoriously bad defender. DeMar DeRozan, not a good defender. Nikola Vucevic, horrible post defender. So, I mean, you look at that team, defense is by far their biggest problem. And if they can add those defenders and, maybe get some playmaking involved, I think they have a chance. I mean, I think they really could. It could be like a similar situation to the Toronto Raptors. If they make a trade, they make the right trade, make a good trade, maybe they keep going. Maybe they start upgrading. Maybe they start winning games, and who knows, man? Maybe they can make a somewhat decent run. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are kind of giving up on the Bulls season right now. I'm not fully giving up on it. I think they still have a decent chance, but who knows, man? I mean, regardless if they're buying or selling at the trade deadline, they need to make a move. There's no doubt in my mind. They need to make a move for somebody. And so looking around the league, I think the Warriors make a somewhat decently big trade. I think arguably, they can make a trade around the edges. They could go get someone like Jakob Poeltl for James Wiseman. I'd rather keep James Wiseman in this situation. James Wiseman's still only 22. Yes, he will ask for a contract extension soon, but if you trade for Jakob Poeltl right now, Jakob Poeltl's on his last year of his contract. That's the first thing. He's on the last year of his contract. So if you trade for him and you give up, let's say you give up 2 first-round picks for Jakob Poeltl, which, I mean, yes, Jakob Poeltl is an amazing player, but I don't know if I give up 2 first-round picks unless they're protected picks, obviously. But let's say you do give up Jakob Poeltl, or you do try to go get Jakob Poeltl in this situation. What are you giving up? Are you giving up James Wiseman? I mean, yes, James Wiseman's been a pretty much valueless player. Injuries have derailed his career at this point, but I mean, he's still a number 2 pick. You put him in the right situation. I mean, yes, the Warriors right now are trying to contend. If you send him to a team like Charlotte, I really think that he would flourish in Charlotte because they need bigs. I mean, yes, Mark Williams has been somewhat good. He's been pretty good for Charlotte. I can't deny it. I liked Mark Williams coming out of college. I thought he was a great defender. I think that him being there in Charlotte, he's been good. I mean, I think Mason Plumlee's had a great season. But honestly, if I'm the Warriors, I'm looking more towards Mason Plumlee. I'm looking more towards, maybe if they decide to make a big time trade, maybe Pascal Siakam. I mean, it's hard to try to judge Pascal Siakam and try to go all in on, let's say, someone like Pascal Siakam, because making the money match is the tough part. I mean, yes, you could throw someone like Draymond Green, who, if they trade Draymond Green, that's horrible. I mean, yes, they are in a tough situation with cap space right now, but Draymond Green is the heart and soul of that team. I mean, he makes that team run, regardless of whether or not people think so or not. Draymond Green is the heart and soul of that team. He makes that team run. He makes that team go. So, maybe you go all in because Draymond's on the last year of his deal. Maybe Draymond won't resign. I don't know. Maybe you go make a trade for someone like Pascal. You throw in Draymond. You throw in someone like Kuminga or Moody. And maybe you make that big time splash for that big. Maybe you do. Because, I mean, their big rotation this season has been okay. And, it hasn't been anything great. I mean, Kevon Looney's had a decent season. But if you're the Warriors, I think they need to go all in, and I think they need to make a big time trade, because if they do that, there's no stopping them. And also, speaking on the Western Conference, the Dallas Mavericks, I think they go all in and they try to go get themselves a star too. And I think they maybe look towards the Raptors and the same deal. Maybe they go for Pascal Siakam. The deal with them is it's a little bit tougher for them because they have the contracts that could line up. Maybe you got like Davis Bertans, like $16 million. You got Spencer Dinwiddie. Maybe you trade some of those guys in exchange to try to go get Pascal. The problem is New York has some of their picks from the Kristaps Porzingis trade. So arguably, it makes this trade a little bit harder. And obviously, you look at Dallas. Dallas does not have a super valuable young player. Dallas doesn't have a super valuable like secondary player to begin with. I mean, unless you trade someone like, maybe you throw in Christian Wood in this trade. Because, I mean, at this point, if you make this trade and Christian Wood's still on your team, I mean, he's just going to be like a 6-man. And yes, he can be a potentially 6-man of the year candidate, but there's no point in keeping Christian Wood. And so if you're Dallas, and then you throw someone like Christian Wood, you throw Davis Bertans to try to make the money match, and you throw like maybe a pick or two, either that or You throw maybe some younger guy in there. It's a little bit tough because if I'm Dallas, I'm not trading Josh Green. Josh Green's been really good for him. He's been shooting the ball amazingly this season. I don't think you trade him, but I mean, if you're Dallas right now, and if you're Mark Cuban, like I mentioned in my last video, I think you're calling general managers and you said, hey, there's a star open. What do you want for this guy? Because Luka is going to tire out. He's going to wear out, and he's not going to be as productive come playoff time. So I think if I'm Dallas, I'm going all in. I'm making myself a move, a big time move. So, I just want to say thank y'all for watching the video, man. If you like the content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and it means a ton to me, man. It keeps me motivated. It makes me happy when I see the likes and subscribers go up, man. It means a ton. And being here from the beginning, y'all sticking with me, it just means the world to me. So I can't thank y'all enough. But thank you for watching. I'll be in that comment section. Peace.